2, which yields 8, negative x times x, which yields negative x squared, and negative x times positive 2. Remember, a negative times a positive is going to equal a negative always. Okay, we're going to go ahead and combine our like terms. Notice I have a 4x and a negative 2x term, which mean they are like terms, so we're going to go ahead and add those together. That yields positive 2. Okay, I don't have another constant to add 8 to, so I simply bring it down, nor do I have an x squared term, so I simply bring it down. Okay. Once I've done that, I'm going to go ahead and put everything into standard form. Okay. So I have my x squared in the front, I have my 2x term, and then I have my constant. Okay. Notice what the a value is on our negative x squared. Well, that's going to be negative 1. That tells me automatically that my graph is going to open downwards, okay? So if it's going to open downward, looking at our actual exam item, I know that that's going to eliminate C and D because both of those graphs open upward, okay? So notice the thinking behind the process. The next thing I'm going to look at is the y-intercept. Okay? The y-intercept can always be found by looking at the constant. It'll be 0, comma, the constant. Okay? Another way that we could figure that out is by simply plugging in 0 everywhere we see x. Okay? So we've eliminated C and D, leaving A and B as choices. So if I look at my y-intercept equaling 8, I know that coordinate point is 0, comma 8. So that means it must cross the y-axis at 0, 8. So we're going to look at A and B and see which is eliminated. So I'm going to start with A. Does that cross at 0, 8? Yes, it does. Let's look at B to see if we can eliminate that. Does it have a y-intercept according to this graph? Well, no, it doesn't, so I can go ahead and eliminate B. So by process of elimination, we've eliminated B, C, and D, which means our only proper answer is A. Okay. Let's take a moment to look at the next question, number 2. Okay. So for number 2, our question is this. In which graph does the shaded region represent the solution set for the inequality shown below? There are a couple of notes that we need to make sure we take in consideration. We want to remember what our signs mean. Less than or equal to mean that we're going to shade to the right or below the line. Okay? We know that greater than or equal to symbols mean that we're going to shade to the left or above the line. Okay? So we want to keep that in mind when we look at our problem. So our problem is 2x minus y is less than 4, okay? So again, we want to get our scratch piece of paper, and we're going to always begin by writing out our problem. So notice what I've done. I've already, again, done all the work, but we're going to talk about the thought process behind it. So I've got 2x minus y is less than 4, okay? In order to solve an equation or inequality, I'm always going to solve using the inverse operation. Okay, so I have 2x minus y is less than 4. My goal is to get y alone. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is subtract 2x from both sides. Okay, so notice that I've done that here in red. That leaves us with negative y is less than negative 2x plus 4. To isolate y, then, I'm going to divide by negative 1. I know that the only coefficient that can be on y is positive 1. In this case, we have negative, so we got to get rid of it. So we're going to divide both sides by negative 1. Okay? When we do this, we have a negative divided by a negative. That turns it positive. So if we notice, y becomes positive, 2 becomes positive. But positive 4 becomes negative. Okay? Anytime we divide by a negative number, you must flip the sign. Okay? So notice that it becomes y is greater than 2x minus 4. And we want to note a couple of important features. Okay? So this greater than symbol tells us that we're going to use a dashed line. Okay? We would only use solid lines if we have a less than or equal to or greater than or equal to symbol. okay? That also tells us where we're going to shade. We're going to shade to the left above our dashed line, okay? So looking at the slope, since it's positive, that tells us that our line is going to go up to the right, okay? If we look at our problem, that's going to eliminate A and B. Notice the line. It's going down to the right in A, so it cannot be a solution based on the slope. Look at B. Our line is going down to the right. It cannot be a solution based on the slope, okay? The next thing that we're going to look at, because that still leaves us C and D, is this. We want to see where is it shaded, okay? So based on our greater than symbol, because remember it's been flipped, okay, we know that we want to look for shading that's going to be to the left above the line, okay? So let's go ahead and look at C and D, okay? If I notice left of my graph, right of my graph, where's the shaded? Well, it's shaded to the right or below our dashed line. That means C cannot be our answer, which means the only thing that remains is going to be D, okay? Let's go ahead and look at number 3. For number 3, it says which expression is equivalent to x plus 2 times 3x minus 3, okay? First off, of course, on our scratch paper, we would have written down our problem. So let me go ahead and get that out for you guys here. Okay, so again, it's color-coded so you guys can see it. We've written it on our scratch paper. We have x times 3x, which gives us 3x squared. We have x minus 3, which gives us negative 3x. We have 2 times 3x, which gives us positive 6x. And we have positive 2 times negative 3, which gives us negative 6. For the next aspect, we must absolutely combine our like terms. Notice I've gone ahead and highlighted those in blue so that it was clear to see for you, okay? And we know that a negative plus a positive, in this case, negative 3 plus 6, is the same thing as saying, well, positive 6 minus negative 3. Okay, or excuse me, minus 3. So I have 3x squared, which simply comes down. I have positive 3x, which makes its way down. And I have negative 6, which makes its way down. We're going to write our simplified answer. We're going to take care to make sure that it's in standard form. Highest exponent to the constant. Okay. Then we're going to compare our simplified answer to the answer choices. Right away, we can eliminate A. It only has 2 terms. We know that our answer must have 3 terms. It's gone bye-bye. We're going to look at B. Okay, remember what we obtained by actually multiplying? We had 3x squared plus 3x minus 6. Okay, so 3x squared plus 3x minus 6, there's our solution. Okay, time for number 4. Okay, for number 4, we have to think all the way back to our unit on parallel and perpendicular lines. So here's the question. A line, y equals mx plus b, passes through the point 1, 6, and is parallel to y equals 4x plus 6. What is the value of b? So I want to start with what I know, okay? What I know is that parallel tells me the lines have the same slope. So in this case, I've circled it. Our slope is going to be 4. Again, parallel tells us that the lines are going to have the same slope. Okay? Then I want to move on to defining the x and y for the given point. Notice our given point was 1, 6. The x part of that coordinate point is 1. The y value is 6. Next, we're going to move on to replacing the variables in y equals mx plus b with the known information so that we can solve for what we don't know, which is b. Okay? We simply take our 6 and replace y. We take our 4 and replace m because m is slope. We take our 1 and replace x. And we leave b alone because we don't know what that is yet. Okay? First things first, we're going to actually perform the operation of multiplication 1 times 4, okay? Then we're going to subtract that from both sides. So we have 4 minus 4 on one side and 6 minus 4 on the other. Well, 6 minus 4 is going to yield 2, so our B value would be 2. And on our EOC, we would simply type in the number 2. For question number 5, let's